welcome to week 4 of our Machine Gun Corps postcards from the Sacker archive. Just a quick look back at week 3 though. So nothing came up about this particular postcard, and there was nothing on the back of it. Same for this one really, but we did share quite a lot of information about that. This, reasonable interest in all these. There was, a bit more information possible about some of these people. I think thanks to David Murdoch, we were able to trace some of this stuff on the Tank Corps and MGC forum. So Jay Bradbury was, a bit narrower to find out who that was. The group photos didn't really, give us much, but this photo really attracted some attention, as early tank crews generally do, but largely because this helmet turns out that he's wearing a cruise helmet, C-R-U-I-S-E rather than C-R-E-W, but a cruise helmet, and you can just see the face veil, the chain mail that's at the front of that should stop shell splinters. So that was a really nice discovery. It goes alongside our large box respirators and sort of really good bits of equipment to be showing in context. So supposedly one of the only photos of that available. So yeah, that was good to see. Maybe possible to trace these people as well, because the early tank crews are quite well recorded with Stephen Pope's work. So maybe we can narrow down who they are, and find a little bit more about them. Hopefully you are supporting us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/VickersMG. I'll apologise a little bit for the sound on this video. It's up and down. We didn't find anything more about these people, sadly, but we do think that this on the left is Silas Golder. A little bit of sound issues in this video because it's a bit up and down because I've recorded it in several places.
So this is a nice studio shot of Leslie, probably, in Portsmouth in 1919. Or from Portsmouth or to Portsmouth, because it's a nice studio shot. Clearly Machine Gun Corps cap badge shown crisply on his soft cap there, service dress cap. MGC shoulder title. I think we've just got one chevron, so he's a Lance Corporal. And what's quite nice here is we've got the company or battalion, probably at this point, insignia. So that's quite a dark circle. It could be one of several. We'd go and check the piece of work done by Alan Gibb and Jeffrey, and I can't remember his surname, or Jeffries. But that the Military Historical Society published a few years ago. That's the great reference for these things, and it would be good to look at that during the week or when this postcard comes up, and see what else we can find out. But nice shiny buttons, clearly prepped for the day. Lovely service dress jacket. Not sort of an outstanding anything abnormal about this photo, but just a really nice crisp studio shot of this chap. So this is interesting. Leslie T. Payne, actually, because we've been able to find this chap on Graham's database. So his service number is 128934, his regimental number, Private Leslie T. Payne of Portsmouth. So that's why he's writing from Eastney. It's a lovely little inscription, actually, to my dear late sergeant. So I don't know if this is to an ex-sergeant rather than late in the term that we use it today. But anyway, so he served with the 63rd Battalion Machine Gun Corps. Now that was the Royal Naval Division Battalion, so that's made up of ex-naval men. So perhaps Eastney, Portsmouth, he's an ex-Royal Marine or naval soldier. He went to hospital on the 25th of March 1918 with a gunshot wound to his right hand, and age 19, he was later S/8192 of the Royal Army Ordnance Corps. So he obviously stayed on in the army. Perhaps that was after his wounding and release from hospital. But anyway, in 1919, he certainly, so he's perhaps been to hospital, using this card to send a note to his ex-sergeant. Now this is a photo and a style of photo that I think we'll become very accustomed to. Single guy sat behind a gun in front of his hut. This seems to be how the studios set them up. Now what this photo tells us is sort of very little about the individual or the time. We'll try and pull out some stuff. So what I did notice first though is his hobnails are the 3 sort of clover type studs on his boot. He's not got many left on his toes there, so that's quite, he's obviously losing them at a rapid rate and will need to get those replaced. He's got great crisscross puttees that we've pointed out before. Service dress looks to be like almost a flannel shirt underneath, certainly thinner than a wool shirt. It might be the cuff of the wool shirt, but it doesn't look right to me. Looks a bit lighter wool as well. MGC shoulder titles on there. Nice MGC cap badge on quite a stiff peak cap, or stiff crown of the cap there. Holding the gun perfectly with his grip, which all machine gunners would know how to do. So, that forefinger resting on the top of the cross piece there. And he sat in front of his wooden hut. Sort of noticed this in a few. It's got a nice high step into the hut, which presumably stops a bit of flooding, splashing, or anything like that. And then there's a mud scraper, boot scraper outside, or just off a piece of solid ground, so that they can make sure that the hut is nice and clean and tidy as possible. No mud going in there. The gun itself is a Mark 1 muzzle cone, a fluted jacket, obviously, a Mark 1 tangent sight slide, single arch top cover. It doesn't look like there's any lightning. So, a 1916-17 production gun. Interesting, this gun has the 2 white bands painted around the water jacket, the barrel casing there, to signify that it's a drill purpose gun. Now, this gun, the tripod doesn't have a direction dial or an elevating wheel cover, so it's probably just being used for stripping and assembly, stripping and assembly, stripping and assembly. So it's not being used for firing, hence why those sort of key bits are missing. It'll be used for elementary gun drill, running up and down, mounting the gun, dismounting, loading, that sort of thing. It's interesting that the gun has some drill rounds. I'm presuming they're drill, not ball, given this setting for the photo. So there's some drill rounds in there. There's probably 6 in there, 5 or 6. But normally these ammunition belts are empty, and that's something that's been picked up on before. It's a number 3 belt box. It's got a strap that goes down here and underneath that. And it means this strap's quite long, so you can sling it on things. You can sling it over your rifle, carry a belt box, pivoted. You can carry 2 together in one hand. It's nice, comfortable strap to use. The spare parts case here is a Mark 1 spare parts case. It's at the shoulder strap has only got 1 loop attached on either side. And it doesn't look like any of the reinforcing's been added there, which is a Mark 1 star or Mark 1 star. So it's quite nice to see an early unmodified case in there. And just as a quick note, it looks like the tripod's been dragged across the ground, possibly to make it better for the photo or something, but it's been moved. So that's quite interesting. The fact he's sat on a poncho or a ground sheet or something to keep his bum nice and clean as well shows that just a thought was taken. These were proper studio photos. I think that's probably it, all I can tell you, but I think we'll become accustomed to seeing this type of photo as we go forward. So there's nothing, this is an unused postcard, there's nothing on the back of it to tell us anything other than the fact that it's J.W. Rogers Day and Electric Studio, Stanley Road, Wellingborough. So likely to be a Grantham photo, Wellingborough, Northamptonshire, not too far away. So yeah, quite, and the fact that there's a price on this, £10, it's obviously been through the collector's market. Quite a, gun and man seem to attract quite a bit sometimes. This is a lovely studio photo, and I say studio sort of tongue-in-cheek really, because this could just be a barn. If you look at it, this is a painted backdrop. This rug looks to be just put in place. This chair is probably brought along by the photographer as well. So this could be a barn, this could be outside, it could be anywhere, but we'll never know because these fake studio items make it look like he's gone along to a proper photo studio. But yeah, these roving photographers are something that you'll see quite a lot, and always look at the background because they're really interesting. What can we tell about this? So he's really spick and span. I'm going to guess that he's on leave, probably post-war, given the wound stripe there. He's got no medals, so quite early post-war, and nice collar up the middle there, nice shiny buttons. What we notice on the cap, nice, really shiny cap badge as well. Wire in the crown. So yeah, it looks to me to be post-war, but we can't really tell at the moment. Maybe some information on the back. He does have MGC shoulder titles, and he does have this flash on the shoulder as well. Now, if you look inside the flash, you can just see that there's like, I don't think it's a 2, although it comes out to look like that. I think it might be the fusee. And what I mean by that is the fusee with chains, so which sits on the left-hand side of the gun. It's like a shape like that, and then connects down there, and then connects down there. So 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's got a 4th piece, and maybe it isn't that, but we know that that was used as a unit insignia. So if we can find some more information out, we might be able to match up the unit patch with the patches book as well. Short jacket there, quite short. Now down the bottom we can see that he's wearing breeches. You can see the knee pads, or the inside of the knee pads there, and the slight flare to them. He's also wearing his puttees, and they are tied downwards. So he starts them up here, they go downwards, and we can see the tie and the tape in the bottom of it just there. Now that's a cavalry thing or a mounted thing to prevent additional wear up round here on the contact points with the saddle, with the horse. He's not wearing any spurs or anything, so he's obviously out for the day, not with his horse. But yeah, so this is quite nice, and he's obviously got a cigarette in hand as well. Thankfully, this card's got a little bit of extra information on the back of it, and it's Christmas 1918. Yours truly, CG, and then I can't read that, but it turns out it's Cecil George Tingey, T-I-N-G-E-Y, Tingey. I don't know how you'd pronounce that, but 21961. And he was originally 2919 of the 1st Cambridgeshire Regiment, and he went across to France and Flanders on the 10th of July 1915. He then transfers to the Machine Gun Corps on the 2nd of June 1916 and joins 118th Company, 118 Company. He gets hospitalised on the 20th of November 1916 with a shell wound to his head and right eye, and is later discharged on the 21st of May 1919. So this is just a few months before he's discharged. He's already been wounded by this point, so you've got the wound stripe there. And yeah, he's been in hospital. It's interesting that this is a Bedford postcard, so possibly he's in the UK awaiting discharge, or he's had this taken perhaps in hospital before. A few things to perhaps explain that, but anyway, so yeah, it's a nice little bit of extra information about this chap. This is a great photo, as I say in so many of these photos, don't I? It's a lovely group shot. It shows some real interesting things. So background, it looks like to be one of the lodges at Bisley. And why do I say that? Well, I've been there. It looks to be one of those lodges, but also this is a motor machine guns photo, and a few things stand out at me straight away to tell me that. You can so even look at it at that level, you can see the detail underneath the badge. So that's Cross Guns, Crown, and MMG underneath. So that's motor machine guns. But also, if I just go down here, the things that are now telling me, leather leggings on the men seem to indicate that they're motorcyclists. And then the gun itself, this gun tells me that it's motor machine gun machine guns because of this, the pedicappuccio sight above the feed block. Notice there's no tangent sight. Now these were privately purchased by the Royal Field Artillery to support the formation of the motor machine gun service. So before the formation of the Machine Gun Corps. So when we see this in place, it means either two things. That in the Great War, it means it's a pre-war commercial gun in service with another country, and we know that Italy had them, and we've actually found that some of those were captured, or at least one was captured by the Austro-Hungarians and ends up on the Western Front because it's been found there as a relic. Or they were purchased, let's say, privately by the Motor Machine Gun Service before War Office supplies became available. So quite nice to see that. What we do have though is the two officers looks like they're not wearing, or if it is, it's very no, I say it's not there. The MMG is not underneath, so those two officers just seem to be wearing normal bronzed Machine Gun Corps cap badges. Also we have this Slade Wallace type sort of 1888 pattern belt. Thanks to Toby for pointing this out when he had a flick through the postcards. On quite a few of the men, we've got 03 pattern belts as well, but you've got that 1888, I think it's 1888, I might be wrong there, but the Slade Wallace type belt on many of the men, which is quite nice to see. Have we got a whole? I think we've got a whole section here: 2 officers, corporal, yeah, cuff ranks, subalterns there, lance corporals. Um, it's interesting. They maintained Royal Field Artillery rank for a little bit longer. So we didn't have privates, lance corporals, and corporals. We had gunners, lance bombardiers, and bombardiers. So if they came across from the motor machine gun service, quite often the rank stayed with them, which causes a little bit of confusion sometimes. Yeah, so it's nice to see. I don't think there's anything particularly, it is an early gun. It is a pre-1914 or 1914 manufactured gun, because they quickly stopped this, went to the tangent site and did just War Office production guns. Ammunition belts, nothing special. Looks to be a number 3 belt box, or that might be a metal, but no, that's a number 3 belt box with the half lid. So that's a number 3 Mark II. Belt box, like 2-star possibly. We've got a couple in the collection. They're just very slightly, which is quite nice to see. I don't think we've seen one of those in these photos so far. So given that they are wearing the machine gun corps cap badges, and given these look like they're wearing the normal machine gun corps cap badges, it's quite possible that this is post 1915, but we believe that the Motor Machine Gun Service may have introduced the crossed guns and MMGs prior to the corps being formed properly. That's something for us to do a little bit more digging with in some of the appendices that we're writing for the Machine Gun Corps history. Nothing on the back though to give us any more information. It's obviously a collector's scribble of MMG, and we think the 19772 there doesn't relate to a service number, but relates to just a catalogue code or something where it's sat in somebody's catalogue for sale. So yeah, sadly no more information on the back. Another nice studio shot. I've got a couple of these. My own great uncle, who was Royal Butcher Yeomanry. They don't tell you much, but it's sincerely yours, A. Sergeant. Obviously, that's his name. He's not a sergeant. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to do a bit more digging and examine that when we look at the back of the card. Nothing on this to say other than really the MGC postcard and a very, very slick parting in his hair. So thankfully, A. Sergeant has been traced a little bit, and it's 116413 Private Albert Sergeant. It's one of those great names in the army, Private Sergeant, just to confuse everybody. A bit like Sergeant Major, if there's a major and he becomes a sergeant. Just confusing ranks. Why have ranks as names? He'd have been called something else, definitely, just to save that. Because when somebody's shouting sergeant across the parade ground and he turns round, not a sergeant, and all the sergeants turn round, wondering who's bawling at them, why this corporal is shouting sergeant, he'd have been called something else. So, anyway, he, 116413 Albert Sergeant, joins the Machine Gun Corps on the 20th of August 1917, so quite late on, and he's discharged on the 9th of July 1919. Sadly, we don't know anything more about him. Graham's database hasn't got any other information, but it's quite nice to know that much at least. So somewhere in France, 1917. There we go. Look, 1917 dates us the photo quite nicely. All the evidence supports that as well. This is sadly quite poor condition, but a super postcard all the same. Let's zoom into different halves. But first, we can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 guns and bar and stride rangefinder in the middle. So this is a complete section, a section as it was at the time. 4 sections in a company, 16 guns in a company. So we don't know which company it is, but we've got 4 guns there. We can see a really great mix of equipment in here as well. Let me finish the guns though, sorry. So we've got, looks like 5 arch top covers on at least these 2. Mark 1's muzzle cones. We've got the Mark 1 direction dial on these. Is it on the other 2? Yes, that looks to be a Mark 2 muzzle cone on the front of that one there. So later 1917. And we've got back to a Mark 1 and then the Mark 1 direction dial there. We can't really see the elevating wheels in these just because of the shadow, but it's probable that they've got them. If they've got the direction dials, it looks to be that they've got the... we could just see it there maybe. Yeah, it looks a bit thicker, so it's probable there. We've got a few straps on the rear cross piece as well, so perhaps these guns would normally be fitted with the auxiliary tripods and they just haven't got them on there at the moment. we've got a mix of ammunition boxes, so it looks like that's a number 3 with the lid opening all the way and the strap going around the front of it. That one's a number 6 because it's a really thin lid and 2 handles. This one is a number 6 as well. And then that one there is a number 3 with the rain cover on the lid. So yeah, a bit of difference in those. And if we zoom back out, you'll see that there's a lot of difference in the equipment being worn. A real unit in the field photo. From right to left, we've got this chap here in the 1914 pattern equipment, wearing rifle pouches both sides. Next to him is the number 1 or a number 2, but he's in pistol order. In 08 pattern equipment pistol order, he's got his pistol on his right hand side there. We then have one of the officers stood here in his Sam Brown kit as well, with shoulder rank on. Nice. You can just see the change in the tone of the uniforms with the officers, which is a really interesting point actually, that would obviously have to change later on, as they become more sniper aware or whatever. That's perhaps a modern thing, but we know it existed in the Second World War. So yeah, there's actually a real tone colour change. More 14 pattern equipment. We then have the 08 pattern equipment in the with the rifle pouches on the front. More 14. Another set of the 08 pattern equipment pistol order. It looks that he is wearing just the braces that go. There were proper brace attachments, but they were supposedly uncomfortable or at least scarcer, and he just seems to be wearing the straps looped up and back round through the buckle to produce a brace attachment that he can wear the pistol order. 14 pattern equipment. There you can see what's happening with the braces, really in quite a lot of detail actually, because his holster is pushed down to the side a bit more, and he's carrying it more cowboy style than how the army would normally do it. 14 pattern kit, Sam Brown on the officer there, which really does show the likeness of their service dress. More 14 pattern kit there. 14. Some with no equipment on. Actually, these chaps look like they've got no equipment. This one is wearing 14 pattern kit, but we can't see what type, whether it's pistol order. So yeah, and just as we go past, it looks like this chap has the MGC with the eye underneath for the infantry branch. So that's quite nice to see, because we're not seeing that very often in these photos at the moment. You'd have an I, a C, or an M, or a H for the heavy branch. So yeah, a nice range. A few smiling faces in there as well. Is that a mark on the photo or a unit flash? If it's a triangular unit flash, it will help us narrow down which company it is. Whether it would be able to identify it or not perfectly, I don't know, but I can't see it on any of the others, so it might just be a mark on the photo, sadly. Oh no, there it is. So yeah, we've got a triangular unit flash that we can go away and take a look at and see if we can report back when we do the update next week. 2, 3, 4, 5. And just to add, if you look at this ammunition belt here, see how open those pockets are. You can really see that's not a flat belt, that is a recently shot ammunition belt. They've got rounds in there as well, so there's ball ammunition in there. They're in the field. Yeah, let's hope the guns aren't cocked for the sake of the photographer. So the reverse of that postcard just shows it's in France, really. We've got the same photographer that we've seen before, down in the bottom left-hand corner, Paris photographer, carte postale 13906. Pretty sure that is just a catalogue reference, not a nothing to do with the photograph in the Great War. I looked at this and I thought, oh, this looks like another post-war studio shot. And then I noticed the date in the bottom left-hand corner and was proud of myself. 14th of February 1919, so Valentine's Day. Yours sincerely, Jay Kernan or something. Let's have a look at the back in a minute and see if we can tell you a bit more about him anyway. We have service dress cap badge over the top of the chin strap there, which is quite nice shiny cap badge. MGC title. Looks to be like he might be wearing a shoulder patch or something in there. Not really sure, can't really tell for certain, but he's got a lanyard around there as well, which is a nice sort of uniform addition. Shiny buttons, 1914 pattern belt, nice and shiny as well. Good conduct chevron on his arm there. Now notice what we aren't seeing in a lot of these photos is the MG Skillet Arms badge, so we might talk about that in general in the future, but just a reminder, not every member of the machine gun corps was a qualified machine gunner or a marksman machine gunner, which is what you got that badge for. He looks like he's actually in drill order, because there's his bayonet, look. So he's out on the town in his bayonet down to this photo studio. This might well be one of those painted backdrops again with a random chair, so we don't know where he is. He could be not very far from his billet. So yeah, that's quite nice to see. And he's carrying his pair of gloves, and you can just see the wedding ring there as well to remind us that the married chaps. Nicely crossed rather than just twisted round puttees as well. So must get practice in for that when I have to wear puttees again. So yeah, on the back of this postcard we've got Titch Kernan, Chester. It's interesting because his name's John Kernan. He's been traced before. I think that's by Graham. Graham certainly got more information on his database about him as well. So he's actually John Kernan, enlisted in Chester as TR/4/25536 of Number 64 Training Reserve Battalion. He then joins the Machine Gun Corps on the 26th of April 1917 and goes to 240 Company, which is one of those reserve divisional machine gun companies. And later becomes part of 34 Battalion in 34 Div, which is written on the back of the card here. He goes over to France and Flanders on the 14th of July 1917, so just before he transfers over to the MGC actually. So it's probably just an administrative thing that he would have joined. He would have been part of the MGC, I think, on going across, but maybe he was part of a reserve battalion of just reserve soldiers that then got dished out once they arrived in France. I don't quite know how that works during the Great War. In the Second World War, you go across as part of a reinforcement holding unit. Certainly officers do. And then they get dished out to whoever needs them. So maybe that was the case here. Goes across as part of Number 64 Training Reserve Battalion, then gets dished across to the Machine Gun Corps as he's needed. Anyway, so he goes across 14th of July 1917. He then stays with the MGC and is discharged from service on the 20th of September 1919. And at the time he's given his address of 88 Commercial Road, Hazel Grove in Stockport.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. Please support us on Patreon if you're able to, and let us know of anything you'd like to see in the future. I look forward to hearing from you.